All right, I'm resting. If I turn on my side to tell these stories, I'm in bed. I had plans to go out tonight and see some live music. It's too hot. It's too hot. And I had a little nap thinking, if I feel better when I wake up, I'll go. Mm-mm. It's too hot. And I just turned the air conditioning on because uh, I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand the heat anymore. And I actually feel like it's not a good idea to not have the AC on. Um, it's not even about saving money at this point, right? It's about my health and my safety. But anyways, I do have a place I can go in the house that's nice and cool near the cellar. And I just very well may move my bed down there. And it sounds like a really silly idea, but if no one is here, like there's no point in having, all this stuff running. But anywho, what am I trying to say? So, yeah, I'm just staying in tonight. I'll be outside. I go outside at night and just chill because, um, I don't know. It's just, I gotta be very careful, in this weather, as do we all. And I read an article many years ago about the effects of heat on the heart. Sorry, of cold on the heart, like people that live in cold weather climates. And obviously the same goes for heat. And I told you before, I used to work in very hot weather, hot summers, and it was construction type work. And I remember a lady come out of her house and she said, "Oh my gosh, we have rules and regulations, and you're not supposed to work in the heat when it's this hot." I said, "Ma'am, there is no rules for this job. There's no extreme cold temperature rules or extreme heat temperature rules." And she was blown away. I'm like, "Yeah, there's it's not against the law what I'm doing here. This is fully approved." And people will say, "Well, I've done this and that." And yeah, I'm sure that you trudged through it many years, right? I'm sure your granddaddies did, and their granddaddies before that. But that's not the point. It does affect your heart. The extreme heat and extreme cold does affect your heart. And if you say otherwise, then you're a fool. And you're an absolute fool. Maybe they trudged through it, obviously, and got through it. But anyways, I can't handle it. I physically cannot handle it anymore. I could actually never handle it, but I just didn't know that at the time. But anywho, but growing up, we lived in this old house. I don't know how old it was. It's probably 100 years old now. It's on its last leg, anywho. And the way the windows were, they were fixed, pane glass windows. The kind that you lift up, and you got to put a book in to hold it up, kind of thing. And all the windows were different sizes and throughout the house and all the things. And so the only place we could put an air conditioning unit in was in the kitchen, which didn't do anything at all because just the way the house was with the hallway and that, the AC absolutely did nothing at all. Before that, though, we literally ran. I still remember to this day running around the streets barefoot, freezy in hand. Half the time I was just, I was a kid in my bathing suit. We just ran through the sidewalks, and no one had air conditioning. And we didn't have a pool. I think sometimes we had a little, those little plastic pools filled with water. And we had fans. And I remember me and my siblings, we would, we'd talk in the fan, make noises, and it makes that funny echoey noise. I can't imitate it right now, but that was the greatest. Just sit in the living room in front of the fan and talk into it and stuff. And then, yeah, we got the AC, and we just learned to just deal with the heat, I guess. and I don't remember ever being too hot. Like, your body gets used to the heat. Like now, if you have AC, your body gets used to being nice and cool, right? And then you go out into the heat, you can't stand it. Um, so it can actually be detrimental. But now today's heat is a different type of heat than the heat we had growing up. Just thinking about that, I can still feel the hot pavement on my bare feet. Always felt good. That's grounding, essentially, is what it is. I didn't wear no um, sandals or flip-flops in the summer, just bare feet. And I wished I thought about it the other day. I'm like, I should just do that. I should just start walking around barefoot. Who the hell cares? Um, but then, yeah, at my grandparents' place, it was a little bit cooler, so um, I didn't really feel. But anyways, when I got a little bit older, I lived in this town, and they didn't have any swimming holes, no ponds. They had a creek, but it was like really gross. Like, the town I grew up in had a creek, and it was supposedly gross, but people still swam in it. But where this place was that I lived then, it was, you couldn't swim in it. It was, actually, the funny thing was they used to have a rumor going around that the water came off of the cemetery, and the formaldehyde, it made people in the town weird. I don't know. I could believe that. But anyways, so there's no swimming holes. There was no recreational centers, like for public pools. Like, there was no public swimming, anything like that. You could drive a town over and go swimming in the lake there, or Lake Suh, but where this town was, there was nothing. It was so hot, and I didn't have air conditioning, and I would fill my bathtub up in my apartment building, and I would just dip in there, just every once in a while, just go have a dip in the bathtub. It was, oh my gosh, it was so hot. I just had a fan in the living room, maybe one in my bedroom, and I just periodically would just go and, oh, I just still remember. And we would go out at night. We would go to the, what was that called? The parking lot at the donut store, because and hang out then, because you didn't want to be doing anything during the day with anyone. But anyways, one day one of my relatives was going to come pick me up. They're going to come pick me up because I was going to go there for the weekend or whatever. And this was like record scorching heat. And by this time I had had enough of being in my apartment and trying to dip in the, what's it called? The bathtub, all the things. So they were coming to pick me up. And I knew that their car had AC. Yes, please. So I packed my bag, and I had to wait for like an hour, whatever, for them to come. I'm like literally daydreaming of what it's going to feel like to get in this car. Sorry, with AC, right? Literally, I still remember, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be so relieved to get in this car with AC. Oh my gosh, please, please, please hurry up. So I hear a honk in the driveway. I run down with my, over my weekend bag or whatever. And guess what? They're in this old beat up truck, just like a work truck. And guess what? It doesn't have AC. No, it does not. I can roll down my windows and let the hot air press against my face, and feel the sprinkle of road dirt, get in my eyes, but there's no AC. And oh my gosh, I was so disappointed. Oh my gosh. But that reminds me of one of my bosses when I lived in that town. It was quite an experience, that place. It's changed completely. It's done a complete 360 of sorts over the years. But one of my bosses, he was a lovely man, and he actually was from the town that I was originally from. And he had moved up there to start his business and all the things. And he was a nice, it's very rare. to find just a nice guy that's not out for themselves and is not weird, you know what I mean, and trying to hit on me or something like that. He was twice my age, mind you, but that still never would um, deter someone from making a move or something. But he was 100% solid, nice man. And he had a old, I wish that I remembered what kind of car it was. I know that it was between 1950s to 1960s, red convertible. And I'm trying to think of the make and the model, but I can't remember for the life of me. But anyways, he had this old vintage car that he would obviously only take out, in the summer months and drive. But he was a single man. He lived a very lonely life, because what happened was, he opened up his business, and he came from like a family of business owners, and actually his father owned one of the first businesses in our town, and my grandparents bought furniture from his dad. But I didn't know that. I didn't know him at the time because he's, like I said, he's older than me. But anyways, but he had moved to this town to start his business. And, when you're business owners now, the newer ones, they have it easy. They can get loans and they can get tax breaks and all this. But back in the day, I mean, if you were going to start a business, you had to, these new business owners, they're driving new cars right away in the first year of opening a business, taking vacations, all these things. Back, the other, like the older owners, they didn't have any money. They had to literally take cuts to their own life to get a sustainable business off the ground. So what he did was he rented this storefront, put in his merchandise, all the things, and he slept in the basement of the business. And let me tell you, it was not the type of business that you'd want to sleep in. Didn't have a shower. It just had a basic sink and toilet in the basement, and he literally put a mattress down there and slept in the basement until he got his business off the ground for months. I think he said 6 months. And he then got an apartment, and he was fine. He kind of got on his feet. But anyways, in the meantime, he had this vintage car he would take out. And one night, he would say, let's go for a drive in the country. And I don't know if you remember when we were growing up, but going for a drive, sorry guys, I'm so uncomfortable this way. Going for a drive in the country meant nobody's on the roads. It's just open road. No traffic lights, just literally, just blue skies and maybe a few trees along just beautiful. I always think of that drive, in the convertible. It was wonderful. And, he was very good to me. He was a very nice man, but he knew who I was, and he didn't, like I said, he wasn't making any funny moves on me or anything. He was just a nice guy. But what happened was I had wondered, what happened to him. Like, what happened, because people said his business, like, he folded or whatever. He wasn't there anymore, I guess. I don't remember the story. But what happened was he passed away at like 44 years of age. Yeah, 45, I guess. I don't know. I think I left that town when I was 19, I think. And I said he was twice my age. Maybe he wasn't exactly twice my age, but he died maybe five years after I had known him. I don't know how he passed away. He didn't drink. I think he casually drank. He smoked cigarettes. He did smoke lots of cigarettes, but he was a very thin man. He was kind of the runt of the litter in his family. I say that about my grandfather as well. But I think he just tried to put all his effort into his business, and I think the stress over the years might have got to him. But he had a daughter, so I'm glad that he had met a lady in that small bit of time and had a child. That's kind of nice. It's kind of nice that his life had worked out for him because he was struggling as a business owner for many years. So, but yeah, I just remember that. But there's not much else. Yeah, we'd all pile up into a truck and go over to the other town and go swimming because there was nowhere to swim. And now to think that all those places now, they all have recreation centers and public pools and everything. But I lived there when it was just getting itself off the ground. So anyways, I don't think I think that's all I have to say about the summer. My ode to summer. That's what I'll call this video. Just very boring, just remembering the heat. And one time we went to the beach far away. We went to this beach that people are known to vacation at or whatever. And we were staying in a camper. And so, can't really spend days in a camper in the summer, so we would spend the whole day on the beach. Can you imagine? We would spend the whole day on the beach, and by the time it was over, we were all sunburned to a crisp. And like I said, I can't tolerate the heat, and so I started to get sick. I started to get really headachy, and I wasn't as sunburned as the rest of the people, which is really funny. Isn't that strange that everybody else was like burning blister sunburn, and I wasn't. I didn't have that. But I felt ill. I felt very ill. I was drinking lots but no human can sit on the beach for 12 hours of the day. You have to be a moron to think that. And no shade. But anyways, I started to get sick, spinning, and I felt like I was dying. And they said, well, go in the camper and keep cool. But I mean, I was overheating. That's what happens when you get heat exhaustion. Your body doesn't sweat. Like, people think that when they're overheating, they're going to sweat and their body's going to cool itself and all the things. No, actually, quite the contrary. You don't sweat, and that's the problem. That's when you've gone into shock almost. So I went in the camper and I wasn't cooling down. I was just getting worse. And yeah, I wasn't sweating at this point. Now I'm starting to feel cold, but not because I'm cool, but because my body's going into panic mode. And so everyone packed up the beach stuff and we went home early. They were quite upset, I'm sure, because I had ruined the trip. But hey, I don't have control over my near-death, experience. So, but yeah, that's about it. Just remember, I just talked to a lady today about all these little swimming holes and little places. And the one thing I do love to do is swim. And even though I'm by the water, where I'm at, sometimes the water is it's not even swimmable, to be honest with you. And that's why my hopes are, in the next very soon years, because I'm not waiting any longer, is to be somewhere where I can actually go swimming every day. Because can you imagine, like, some days I'll pack up, I have a little floaty board, and I take it with me just in case I get tired. When you're going, you shouldn't really go swimming by yourself, to be honest, but I'll take my little floaty board just in case. If I get tired, I can have that little flotation device. Pardon me. And I'll go down to the beach, think I'm going to go for a swim today. And guess what? The water is it is so mucky and murky, and it's just disgusting. Like, you don't even want to be in there. Like, I've swam in questionable places, but this is gross. Like, you don't want that on your skin. I probably have better luck going to swim, like when I go in April and May. I go in the water sometimes in the winter because it's cleaner then. The water's cleaner. But I hope to just, seeing how this summer isn't off to a great start because it's so freaking hot, but I hope to get out to some really nice little swimming spots this summer, because the one thing I do love to do is swim. I love to swim. I used to just swim for like, I'd go way out. I'd go way out in the water. I just love to swim. I don't like doing laps, and I don't like doing, what is that when you do the over the shoulder? What's that called? I don't know what it's called. But I do love to swim. But anyways, there is a pool near us. I don't like swimming in pools with the chlorine and all that. I know I sound very hard to please. But our pool it was being fixed by us. It's a big scandal in the town because there was some money. There's something going on because they built this pool, okay, and then what happened was they said that it was built on a sinkhole, and that it collapsed or some bullshit, I don't know, and something with the roof. So, and it's 20 years old, okay? So wait a minute. So how does that work? If wouldn't the architect and the planner and the engineer, wouldn't they all be on the hook for okaying plans for a pool to be done up on a sinkhole? Wouldn't they be liable for that? Couldn't the city sue? I don't know. But anyways, apparently they had to take more money out of the city budget to obviously fix this. And I don't know about you, but 20 years isn't a long time to have a $1 million project, up and running. Something like that should have been good for at least 50 years. So they shut it down. They've taken almost a year to do it now. 2 years. In the meantime, nobody could get answers. Nobody could get answers as to why the pool is closed, when it's going to open, when they're going to start the work. And as residents of this town, we have the right to have all these questions answered and all the things. And one of my rehab workers, not rehab like you think, physical rehab workers, even called and tried to get to the bottom of this. Because she's like, that is so suspicious. I don't think she believed me that you can't get any answers anywhere. So she called and tried to inquire about it. No one could tell her anything. So they're opening it soon, which will give me access to the sauna as well. And it'll be for free because all the residents in our town can do it for free, which is amazing. Except my 2 sons, they work out there. And the price includes use of the pool and the sauna, right? So how do they get a discount? They've actually been paying for use of the pool and the sauna that they had no use of. They don't get any reimbursement. They don't get any deduction of sorts or anything like this. But yet me, who doesn't have a membership there, gets to swim for the rest of the year for free and use the sauna for free. That doesn't make any sense. But this town doesn't make much sense neither. So I'll be able to go swimming as long as it's not overcrowded, because I think because it's free for everybody in our town, which sucks, is that it's going to be so overcrowded. So overcrowded. Our town is already at capacity now. It used to be a nice little quaint little quiet town. It's already crazy and wacky. Too many people here. But so I just hope they don't come to our end to use the free pool as well. That's going to lure in a lot of what's the word? People that aren't usually around here. They're going to use this for our swimming facilities. Anyways, guys, I'm tired. I'm going to have a little snack and sit here and be very disappointed that I couldn't go to my celebration of sorts and hear the loud music, but it is what it is. There's always next year, or there's always other festivities. There's lots going on this summer, and I'll drag my butt there. Bye, guys.